have three fabulous speakers, and we will introduce them in detail as we go along. We are lucky enough to have Nigel Murphy, we have Heidi Lee, and then Mike from Capricorn to speak to us about energy efficiency, to speak to us about the future of clean energy, and to inform us about the Capricorn engine. So I'd like to start by introducing you to Nigel Murphy. Nigel has done amazing work getting the Victorian Clean Tech Cluster going. He's a board member of the Victorian Clean Tech Cluster. He's passionate about developing a strong clean tech network and industry in Victoria and in Australia. As an environmental scientist, Nigel is a founder and director of both Earth Systems and Cyclic Carbon, companies that have been actively innovating and commercialising technology in the clean tech space for the last 25 years. He's an honorary life member of the Environment Institute of Australia and New Zealand. Now, under Nigel, Earth Systems have developed and commercialised their mobile pyrolysis furnace, which apart from producing biochar, which I'm hoping Nigel will talk to us a little bit about, also produces heat, and Capricorn are very interested in that heat. Welcome, Nigel.
Thank you to Capricorn Power and the team at Capricorn Power for this opportunity to be at really a very important event for our emerging company. Basically, I think we're here to support one of our heroes in clean tech innovation in Victoria, Capricorn Power. We need to support companies that are doing great things in this space. And that's one thing that the Clean Tech Cluster is trying to do, is it's trying to support companies like Capricorn Power. We need to bring together private industry, government, research and capital to grow clean tech innovation in the state. And really clean tech is technology and innovation that leads to a better environmental outcomes and contributes to a more sustainable future. Now, Capricorn Power is a hero because they are developing technology to take waste heat and turn it into a valuable resource in electricity. Their success, if they're successful with their journey that they're embarking on, will not only lead to jobs and economic activity in Victoria, it's also going to contribute to making our industries more efficient, driving a more sustainable future, not only for us here in Victoria, but globally. Using the Barton engine, the technology has no emissions and no water use. It produces up to 3 times the electricity of the organic Rankine cycle at container scale. So it is groundbreaking technology, groundbreaking innovation, and it's something we need to support. But what they are doing is not easy. It's, and I speak from experience here. As well, I'm also an investor, so investing in our own technology, and they need support and backing. You can't do all these things alone. You need support and backing, and without support, their journey will be more arduous and less likely to be successful, frankly. So we must get behind them. So, if we look at Australia, we are great innovators. There are many great inventions that have come out of Australia, many things that we've contributed to. And I think you hear people from Europe who come over here and the US and they say, oh yeah, there's great ideas. But we're not necessarily great at commercialising these opportunities. We're not great at turning these opportunities, these innovations into commercial outcomes so that we make the money to invest into new innovations. We're great at some things. We're great at, we're great at mining sector. We're great at AFL. We're not great at taking great ideas through to commercialisation. We need to be much better. And really the goal is we want Capricorn Power to be a world beater, exporting their technology to all parts of the world. And we want them to be still based in Victoria. We want them here. We don't want them going to the US or going to China because they can't get the support that they need here. So that's very important. And it's even more important because clean tech is the big economic opportunity of our time. It's the big threat, but it's the big opportunity. We have to get it right. There's just no alternative. We must address climate change. We must address the unsustainable footprint on this planet if we are going to provide any kind of legacy to our children and grandchildren. We have to do it. So unfortunately, we've conveniently ignored the reality of our situation, believing that the solution is worse than the problem. We've literally had our head in the sand and are only beginning to acknowledge the issues that our unsustainable approach to consumption and waste has generated. The interests, we have to tell it as it is, the interests of the status quo have done a very good job at keeping us complacent and compliant. You know, the status quo doesn't want any change. They want us to still be pumping oil out of the ground, building concrete structures, laying bitumen everywhere. That's the status quo. We have to combat that. And only if we're together can we combat that. We have to make people realise, the community and government, that there are economic opportunities in a new economy. In fact, there's great opportunities in a new economy. So those that embrace the opportunity of clean technology and more sustainable future, they will be our leaders of the future. There's no doubt about that. And we've already had some incredible changes that are setting the scene for a clean tech revolution. Solar PV, for example, many said would never be economic. I'm old enough to remember quite clearly people saying that solar is never going to make it. So it went from $100 a watt in 1976 to $10 a watt in 1991 and just $1 a watt in 2015. And you know, in Australia we now have 2.15 million PV systems. 2.15 million PV systems installed on over 20% of homes in Australia, generating 12,900 megawatts, and it's still growing. And the people have voted for PV through their hip pocket. You know, they believe that change is needed. So we just need to convince a few others. But the good news is that the direction of wind has changed for clean tech. No longer are we going against the wind. The wind is starting to come behind us. Why is that the case? Well, one reason is our situation needs immediate action. If you actually read the reports that are coming out, they're quite frightening that, you know, the temperatures will be maybe 2.8 to 5.6 degrees Celsius more than what they are in as little as 40, 50 years' time. So the outlook isn't that great. So, and I think that the message is sinking in. Capital realises this. It is looking for sustainable investments. Why? You know, some of the investments, long-term investments that organisations make, then they don't look like good investments anymore because the economy is changing and it's changing rapidly. And capital is seeing that. Probably the insurers were one of the first. You know, they insure for risk, so they've been on it very early on. But you know, managing future risks and liabilities, it's enormous now. 200,000 people evacuated in California because of the bushfires. Greenland melting at an incredible rate. So, you know, risks of sea level rise. And I think that the mindset of a circular economy where a product is made with the end in mind is growing in the political and ideological realm. So you know, states, I know almost every state government, the federal government here in Australia is looking at the circular economy and what will it take to move towards that. And the other thing that is changing as well is that we have a new generation of people. We have young people. I can't remember high school students demonstrating for anything. So we've had high school students shaming, basically, you know, many others in our society, standing up and demanding change. And I think that this discontent with the status quo and the eagerness for action is going to make the political and the status quo, it'll force change. So these things are changing the direction of wind, and I hope that that's going to move that wind in the right direction for Capricorn Power. There's hardly an aspect of our life that will not change in this clean tech revolution. You know, concrete is going to be different. Bitumen roads is going to be different. Agriculture, broad-scale agriculture is going to be different. Almost everything we look at and think that's how we live is going to be different in this future. But it's exciting. It's exciting because there'll be different things that take its place. So, creating a new world-class successful enterprise requires a lot of hard work, luck, and strategic support, basically from wherever you can get it. And what a future we will have if 20 of Australia's top 200 companies were clean tech companies based in Victoria. That's the vision we need to have. And we want Capricorn Power to be one of those. And we need to support the organisation so it can be one of those. 25 years ago, this state was on course to be a leader in sustainability. I know that. You know, I've worked in the sector for a long time. And, you know, we had some of the leading companies and thinkers in the world in this sector. We established one of the earliest EPAs in 1970. I think it was the second EPA. So we turned the polluted city. I went to a school in Melbourne, and I know, you know, I was there in the 1970s. We turned the polluted city of Melbourne into one of the most livable cities in the world. Can you imagine the value of this initiative? It's worth billions of dollars to the economy. We did that. But somehow, we lost our way. We became complacent and lost our vision. We're behind many parts of Europe. We're behind China. We need to make sure we get that vision back. But I think, thankfully, we are now ready to reclaim our leadership role. We have a lot of good things in Australia, good education. We have this beautiful, lovely continent, and you know, we have so many attributes. So we can create a sector of the economy that generates ideas and technology that will provide a more sustainable future for this country and other parts of the world. The challenge is there for us. We have an opportunity to drive the economy into the future. And it's a clean tech opportunity. It will create prosperity for those that are able to embrace the challenge. Personally, I'm very excited and enthused by the prospect, because it's, you know, to put our energy into the problem, it's almost wasted energy. We need to put our energy into the solution. We need to focus our attention on the solution. We've put too much energy into thinking about all the difficulties that climate change and waste issues are going to bring. Put our energy into solving those issues, making jobs, economy, paying payroll tax and income tax to the government, because we're generating a new breed of company. So let's salute Capricorn Power and get behind them. and do everything we can possibly do to make them a clean tech leader. Because we know that it's only through a clean tech future that we'll be able to safeguard the vibrancy and quality of life that we now enjoy in the state. If we don't move, if we don't act in this area, Melbourne and Victoria won't be the place that we now enjoy. So please join the likes of Capricorn Power and the Victorian Clean Tech Cluster in being a part of this clean tech journey. Thank you very much.